Enjoy the silence.
Enjoy the silence.
Yeah,
For our long intro.
just like Depeche Mode. Enjoy the silence, right? So
Depeche Mode, huh?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's going back a few years?
It is going back a few years.
Yeah, that's back in my college days
Okay.
to have Depeche Mode, Enjoy the Silence, and same album that had another religious-esque song, Personal Jesus. You know,
Really?
Huh?
I don't know that I can place that song. Is it something that could go on KCLC?
Absolutely not.
No?
No.
Okay.
So
Well, there you have it.
It just has the name Jesus in it. That's
It has
all.
the name Jesus in it.
That's as close as we're
Makes
gonna
it
get.
sound nice for those of us pastor types.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Oh, that must be a Christian group.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So we were running a couple of minutes late, had switched batteries, and then some of you will be watching this a little bit later because we are having issues connecting to Facebook today. So later on, it'll be uploaded, and if you're those folks, then sorry for the delay. It's just we have no other options than to do workarounds, right?
Well, yeah. I suppose that's all we can do.
Yeah. Yeah. Jason, who's behind the tech today, was saying that they keep a running tally upstairs in the booth about how many days without incident.
Days without incident.
Yeah. And the clock got reset on Sunday, but guess what? It's Tuesday. It's getting reset again. So, because there was yet another incident. So, you didn't get.
Yeah.
You
I
didn't
mean,
get,
stuff that's beyond their control.
We don't count these.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's
Sanctuary only.
These don't count. That's what I was just told.
yeah,
These don't
these
count.
Don't count.
Sanctuary only of events. And,
I say this counts. This is important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nobody believes me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You need to buy them a board for down here then.
I might have to.
Yeah.
Actually,
If
well,
they had a board, I'm sure they would.
you know where it's going to go?
Yeah. Where?
Right behind me,
Right behind you.
so everybody can see it.
So every
And I'm keeping the score. That's the new rule.
that's the new rule.
Days
huh?
without an incident. It'll be right there.
Yeah.
Right above the little butterfly person.
Okay.
Right there.
Okay.
So, anyways, we've been working on this water main issue,
Yeah.
but because we had to shut off the cooling tower, it always runs a little havoc with the AC downstairs.
Which
And
the cooling tower is connected
To
to our
all of this
AC,
stuff.
so you would think that it's not incompletely
so it's warm downstairs,
warm.
which is interesting because you would think that being in the basement would keep you cooler. It does in the summer,
does.
but down here at any time of the year, if the AC is not running, it's you feel it.
Yes.
And
That's true.
And so we're not sure why we're not getting stuff to clip on. And one of our main units in the offices moved on to the higher realms.
Okay.
So that has nothing to do with the cooling tower. It lived a long life.
And it was time to let it go.
It was time to let it go. So we gave last rites, and
You did that.
yeah.
I did not.
It was- it
I had
was-
other things to do. But
Yeah,
you
it-
did
I
went up
did.
there
I
and
went up
prepared the
there
whole
and
service.
got out my
Yeah.
my hymnal and
Yeah.
administered
Sang a
last
few hymns
rites
and
sang
did
a
the
few,
last
that's right.
last rites.
And then it
Yeah.
stopped. It was
Yeah.
not pretty. It was actually rattling last week.
It was
remember?
rattling. I did
And-
notice that.
And we had it checked out, and they said, "Yeah, you're at the end of this thing." So we'll have.
So here we are.
So here we are in a warm studio and a warm office today, and
There could be warmer days though.
yes,
If it was going to go out,
This
a
is
day
an
like
okay
this, I'm going to take it.
this is an okay day. You know, and the thing is in a room like this, in our studio, we have so much electronic equipment that, this room is just naturally warmer because there we go. So can you bring that up to me, please? I need that. They were fighting me, but they finally came around, and you can see now that we have days. Let's see. Can we get to weekday updates without incidents?
Yeah.
See, they did heed
Yeah.
my call.
They did.
Yeah.
So we'll put that right there.
put that right there. It's a perfect place
Yeah.
without incident. That's no, and there's a zero. So we'll try again, right?
We'll try again.
So what's going on with you, Pastor Brian? Did I see you were in snow yesterday?
I was. It is spring break in Clark County School District.
Yeah.
And so kids are off this week. My kids, many kids.
Lots of
throughout the-
kids. Yes.
throughout the district. So they are, finding all kinds of spring break activities.
So how far up the mountain did you go?
So we went to Lee Meadows,
Okay.
just as there's parking there, and
Yeah.
yes, you don't have to go all the way into.
Was there lots of folks
skiing.
there yesterday or no?
There's a fair amount.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was since it was spring break, but it was still a Monday, and so, I don't think we even got up there until 9:30 or so.
Yep.
And there was plenty of parking for us. You can go and stomp through
So
the
like
snow for a while.
6-8 inches on the ground, or even more than that. I mean, how much
Yeah,
snow was it?
there could be. I mean, and drifted in many spots. So
Okay.
So at least I would say, 8 inches
Yep.
on the
Good.
ground.
Good.
So,
I'm still waiting for them to rebuild the lodge at the top of the mountain, or at least at the end of the road.
yeah, you know what?
the-
I've never been to the lodge.
Really? Well, you can't
Never.
now, but
Well, no.
I was
I've
up
looked down
there.
at the burnt out square.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. I was did a picnic above the lodge, and then my car died and had to go down to
right.
the lodge.
I've heard
It's
that
back in
story.
'98, and that was the one time I was at the lodge making a phone call and waiting for a ride back down into the valley. So
It's a nice, particularly in the summer. It's nice.
yeah,
to
it's a great
have
place to
that
escape,
area.
right?
Yeah.
Absolutely, get away.
So
Well, good. I'm glad you got up to snow. I was tracking the weather up where my brother and my father live, and they're getting 2 back-to-back winter storms. They got 8 inches last week, and starting tomorrow morning, they're supposed to get another 8 inches of snow, which is it's not unheard of in March, but you're getting towards the end of the season too.
yeah, you are. Which I mean, it still can happen, but it's the point where it just gets exhausting.
Yeah, you're
when,
tired of
when
it.
the next storm rolls
And
through.
and the later in the season means the more humid it is because of the warming temperatures, even a little bit, which means the heavier the snow.
yeah.
If you grew up in Nevada and you spent all your time in Las
true.
Vegas, you don't realize that snow has different weight, and that really when it snows and it's really cold, it's really light, light, kind of fluffy snow.
But a lot of it can come down. You can get
Yeah,
quite a bit.
But when you get to near the end of the season and it's a little bit warmer, there's a little bit more moisture in the air, you get the snow that could be up to 20 pounds to 30 pounds per shovel when you're moving it.
you feel each shovel.
Each shovelful.
load of
So,
that.
so they're getting
About
quite a
that?
bit of snow back up
about
in the
that?
Midwest. Yeah, glad I am here in a basement, wanting to run the air conditioning. you know,
Yeah.
so it's not so
It's,
bad.
it's a little warm down here.
Yeah, it
We
is.
Could use
It
a little
is.
more air.
Yeah.
I tell them that.
Yeah, I was looking for
Yeah.
a fan for in here and I couldn't find one. So it's just.
We know there's plenty. There used to be. We used to have
they've-
fans set up all
They're probably
over.
in the
for-
same place that the high chairs were at. They're all hidden,
yeah,
So
hidden.
I don't know.
That's right.
I went looking for one and couldn't find one. So we'll just pretend it's comfy in here, like back in the old days when we were doing broadcasts upstairs without the Crossroads air conditioning during the pandemic.
Yeah, we had
in the summer,
plenty of fans running at that time.
and we just pretended it was climate controlled, and it wasn't. So
Well, they could see the sweat running down our faces, but
yeah. So hey, I was going to tell you, I got one of our members gave me a Bible this past week, and they were telling me about it, and I said, hey, I'd like to take a look at it. Well, they ended up just gifting me this Bible. And what's fascinating about this Bible is that it is in modern, updated English, okay?
okay.
But it was translated back in 1906. And it's actually a pretty good translation. So it's
Okay.
like one of the first English written Bibles that wasn't using these and thys and thous and
Oh, really? So it's like the modern.
like a
But
modern translation.
1906.
But
what
somebody,
they were.
but somebody did
yeah.
it way back at the beginning of the 20th century, which is completely unheard of because you go back to those days and people are still reading from the King James.
Sure.
Even the Revised Standard Version, the RSV.
Yeah. When did that come out?
I'd have to go back and look, but that
I
was
don't even know
that
when
was
some
the
of those would've-
precursor to the NRSV,
Right.
and that still had these and thys in it.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so to find a English translation Bible from 1906 that actually uses modern day English And that's the whole point of the person who did this, the scholar, was to put the Bible kind of more accessibly into people's hands. I was actually deeply impressed by the fact that it was so old, but yet had a modern translation to it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I,
yeah.
yeah.
But it had updated all the these and
Yeah.
all that stuff.
And also undertook the translation himself. So it wasn't just that he took an already existing translation and took that stuff out. He did kind of a Martin
Interesting.
Luther where he took the Hebrew and the Greek and made it into accessible English for folks. So
Yeah.
so kind of a fast, when I was looking at it, I was stunned by the copyright date that somebody attempted to write an accessible Bible for people way back when. Yeah. So when I see the person next, if they're not watching, they'll know like how great this little Bible is. So
Oh, cool.
yeah.
Interesting.
So, and we've
Interesting.
yeah, we've gotten a couple of weeks into our sermon series, There Is a Way. And we've talked a little bit about knowing that on the way we're never alone, that also on the way that there is always love because we're not alone. And this week coming up, we got a few more weeks of Lent, and this is what we're doing during Lent. Part of this journey or this way that we're on, making our way to the cross and the empty tomb, is we also know that there's always room and there's always time to start over, and that's what I'm going to talk about this coming weekend. And we were in, we have a lot of our meetings today, and was thinking about that. You know, when we're kind of one-tracked mind on a path or on a journey, we don't always take the time to self-evaluate. And that's the thing about being on the Christian walk together, is there is always time and place and room to stop and to start over if you're heading down the wrong path. And and I think that's important for us. It's when we're too busy or too self-consumed that we don't see that maybe we are missing the forest for the trees when we should take a break. But you know, so I was going to ask you about this past weekend. You talked about John 5 and 9, right?
Yes.
So do you think
Yes.
that guy, so the story is paralyzed man at the pool of Bethsaida, right?
Yes.
There in
Yes.
Jerusalem.
Yes.
And the old myth was if the
When it
pool bubbled or rippled or whatever,
Yeah.
that would mean an angel was stirring the waters.
Right. And there are some copies, not all the copies of the ancient manuscripts,
Yeah.
some copies that have that
Yes.
line about an angel would stir the.
And then then
waters.
healing would come.
Yeah.
Of course, wives' tale kind of thing.
Yeah.
But do you think that guy, the way John was writing it, was trying to pass the buck by tattletaling on Jesus? Like first he's like, I don't know.
You
who
kind of
healed
wish
me.
it had more to the story, right?
Right?
Like, it's
That's
one
what
of
I was
those where
thinking.
it's left kind of ambiguous, but it's not like John 9, right? John 9, it becomes clear. This is what this guy is doing. He is all about Jesus, and he is all in. And so many others are all in. And this one, to me, it just stands out. And, he might have been all about, but
I mean, he was
you
very.
you don't have the whole story. Like,
He's a little elusive
he is.
in the sense of he asks him, "Does he want to be healed?" He heals him, and then he just gets up and goes.
Yeah.
He just leaves, right?
Right.
And then he gets caught with the mat. I mean, so ironic. You're not supposed to be working on the Sabbath,
Right.
And he's
Yes.
like, "Oh, the guy told me to carry a mat. I don't
I
know."
feel bad for him.
Right? It's like, I'm
it's
just
just
doing
like,
what I was told.
good grief.
But then
yeah.
when Jesus kind of came up to him, it was almost as if Jesus knew his heart wasn't in the right place.
Well, his comment is "Don't sin anymore," and
Yeah.
why would he say that if he needs to get him on the right track somehow?
But I mean, Jesus, being the Son of God, knows all things, of course. But it's almost like he knew what was going to come next.
Yeah.
Like Jesus knew, like now after this, you're going to go to the Pharisees and tell them that I healed you.
yeah,
And so, in a preemptive kind of moment, he's like, you know what? It's time to move on.
yeah,
Time to let everything go, start a new life. And yet, then the guy couldn't.
yeah.
You know,
That's kind of the concern, right?
It's like stuck.
He's stuck.
he's stuck, and
He's
it had very little to do with the paralyzed part. He was just stuck.
The miracles happened, and
Yeah.
like he's free on so many levels.
But up here and in here, he's not free. He's still stuck. And in some ways, you can have all the I guess health you would want, but if you're not free in your heart and mind, you're really stuck.
That to me is why this story is so engaging because,
Yeah.
maybe it's not the way I want to. I want to try to read the story a different way, but at the same time, that is a very human way to understand it because we can be free on so many levels. We can have so many blessings in our life and live with so many blessings, but then mentally we're still trapped.
Stuck, right?
Yeah, we're stuck. And in our heart, we're still stuck.
And in John 9, though, which is one of my favorite stories in the Gospel of John, he embraces that gift and then becomes an evangelist to the point that when the Pharisees put him on trial,
He's not going to let them hold him back.
nope, or run roughshod, and he makes them mad because, and I know you only have so much time in a sermon, but I love the point where he goes, "Man, you seem to be asking a lot of questions about Jesus. You must want to meet him and know him too." And they're like, "Get out of here! We don't want to hear this." Ever
How
again."
dare you lecture us?
That's right.
Yes.
So I love the fact that this guy becomes an evangelist, but it's more than just saying I believe in Jesus. He's been freed, not just because he can see again, but he's living in that love and joy that he just even is messing with the Pharisees. There's a little bit of playfulness in there. And at that point, he still hadn't even actually met Jesus or seen him face to face because he healed him and Jesus went away. And finally, later on, Jesus comes and finds him, just like the other story.
Just like the other story.
And he asks him about essentially meeting the Messiah, the Savior. And he's like, "Well, I'd love to if but I couldn't before because I couldn't see him." He said, "But I'd love to see him now." And he said, "Well, you're looking at him."
Yes.
And
yes.
and totally acknowledges his lordship, right? And so you really do have this contrast of not receiving the gift, and in some ways we know that receiving the gift is always given in love, and one person rejected that love in a lot of ways, and the other person totally embraced that love. And I think that's the question for us: is are we going to embrace that love that not only comes from God but from others? But do we push it away because our hearts and minds are locked down?
Yeah.
And we can't see the choice. We can't see the option. We can't even see that, to quote Philip Fortenberry, the channel of the divine love that is coming at us.
Yeah.
So got to wink at him,
Yeah.
because since he's in the room, and the choice was there for both, and one totally missed it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really fascinating. That this guy still never got it at the end. The paralyzed man, right?
Right. Not in the. It's certainly not clear in the text we have that he ever got it.
And so, speaking of that, I want to just blow it up a little bit before we go to the song of the day. I'm already thinking about Easter, right?
I know.
already
We
thinking about
have
Easter.
to, but it is like.
And
kinda wild.
Yesterday I was thinking about Easter, and I saw some really deranged, heretical Christian post. I mean, it borders on not being Christian at all because it's not biblical, right? But somebody really talking about vengeful, angry, like tough Jesus as a theology.
As in, like coming after you for sinning,
Yeah,
or
that kind of
whatever
stuff.
sin is in
Yeah,
that
right,
person's
yeah.
mind.
And
Okay.
and I was like, what on earth? This is like so beyond the pale and so heretical. I mean, I didn't comment on it, but I was just like, this is nuts.
Yeah,
But then I was thinking about it because I was thinking about Easter. Here's how we know that everything that Jesus did came from a place of love. And I realized this for the first time yesterday, is after the resurrection, he did not exact revenge on any of those people. I mean, think about it.
That's true.
He is risen from the dead. He is now what we call glorified or perfected in the resurrection. Passing through doors, showing up, disappearing, just a different aspect of Jesus in his glorified being, right?
And especially in regards to, because you see that all the time, of the angry Jesus who is going to come after you for your, whatever it is that they're they're mad about, like
Yes.
the person who's writing that.
Yes,
And to think about that in context of
He could have
here's
come
Jesus.
back, come out of the
Yeah.
tomb, and been like, I'll see the disciples tonight, but I'm going to go pay a visit to, Pontius Pilate and the chief priests and,
Yeah.
go all Terminator, right? Like,
Yeah.
you messed with the wrong son of God, right? Kind of feel. And
Yeah.
the fact that he doesn't, and the fact that he even just leaves them alone, that he really essentially only draws close to those who already knew him or encountered him and looked favorably upon him. I think for some, faith might be too strong a word early on, but like, oh, I admire Jesus, or I saw him do this and he's a great man. But like, those are the people he showed up to. So what we see is the fact that Jesus was absence of revenge or retribution or whatever you want to call it after the resurrection tells us or shows us that that's not his style, because even before that he had the power, but now it's on display. And he still chooses not to use it against his enemies. He still shows love,
Yep.
even to those who victimized him. And so I think that is a huge thing. If you're like, how do we know that God is loving? Just look how Jesus dealt with those who put him to death. He didn't do anything, and he could have.
That's true.
And I think that's a great reminder for us.
Yeah, because we see that all the time. We want that revenge,
Yeah.
and
And
everybody's
God's on my side.
and
God's
we
gonna-
see that all the time of somebody saying God's on my side, and here's
Yeah.
our revenge. Yeah.
And so that's what happens when you're sitting in a car dealership getting your car worked on. Is those are the things I think about. Can you
Yeah.
imagine
yeah.
using that time to think about Easter? Right? So, anyways, I want to go back to Sunday, and we heard a song at 11 o'clock that exemplifies this understanding of who we belong to, and that we walk in love, and because of that, that love is given for us to share too. So let's time travel back to Sunday at 11.
That's right. We're getting it going today. I was walking the west side, lost on a lonely road. I was chasing that high life, trying to satisfy my soul. All the lies I believed in, they left me crying like the rain. Then I saw lightning from heaven, and I never been the same. Let's sing it together, come on. I'm gonna climb a mountain, I'm gonna shout about it. I am a child of love. Yes, I am. I found a world of freedom. I found a friend in Jesus. I am a child of love.
I felt the sting of the fire, but I saw you in a flame. Just when I thought it was over, you pulled me out of the grave. I'm gonna climb a mountain, I'm gonna shout about it. I am a child of love. I found a world of freedom. I found a friend in Jesus. I am a child of love. I said, oh, I am a child of love. I said, oh, I am a child of love. Nothing can change the way you love me. Nothing can change the way
How about that?
That was wonderful.
Dang.
Yes.
That wake you up.
Yeah, right?
So I was alerted to the fact that I think there was some sweet justice in the during the song, because I had to point this out. That the song we just did was actually meant for Thursday,
Right.
so the clock is still at 0, and
Well-
I chose the wrong song for today.
See, that's the good news about a 0 day. You can do whatever you want on a 0 day.
Anything?
Yes. And it's
In that
still at
case.
0. Yes.
Yeah. So, anyways, that was Thursday song here on Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's kind of like having a fifth Sunday on a fourth Sunday, right? So
Yeah.
maybe that's the week. We're just a little
Yes.
little off, right? Song though, love the song. And by the way, the song for Thursday that's meant for today, also a great song. But I think this one was just like living in my heart a little bit longer. And it's a song from 2020.
Not
by-
too long ago.
Yep, group called We the Kingdom, and contemporary Christian music artist. And the lead singer, Franny Ray Cash, said that this song was a breakthrough as she realized that when she places her heart in Christ, that she is free from fear, intimidation, or what people think. And then she said this: "It is so triumphant to remind myself that I am a child of love, I'm a child of God, and He, God, is love. My identity is in Him, so I can be confident in that and be be childlike and free, just like in the song." And Philip, folks, just take a second. All the personal pronouns are capitalized in the statement. So we were having a conversation about, do we capitalize pronouns earlier for God?
Right.
And so I just needed to report back to him that in this they were capitalized.
You capitalized
yeah,
everything.
Yep. Because depending on how this was written, and Philip may or may not play afterwards, because we had talked about that too. Is if it's not right, he reserves the option in his contract to not play.
To not play.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
play with one hand, one of the two, depending on how he felt. So just wanted to report that we're
Yeah.
good with the pronouns.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So I think one of the things that she mentions before we even jump into Bible verses is the fear about what other people think. That is debilitating for some.
It is. Yeah.
That when
Yeah.
someone is caught in wanting to be a people pleaser all the time, it can be debilitating because you're living your life worried or concerned about what somebody else may or may not think.
I mean, it's the same thing about being controlled by others, whether it's in the Bible, controlled by the fear of the Pharisees, or what do they think, or what do my friends think, or what do they, I mean,
Yep.
that's all over in the Bible, and it's all a form of control that you're not surrendering to God. You're surrendering it to other people.
Other people. And the other people have no idea. In other words, you're giving up something that's based on your own fear, not because somebody else is actually controlling you. And that's really
Exactly right.
debilitating.
Yep.
And now, of course, when you think about it on a continuum, of fear of what other people think, so you make decisions based on what somebody may or may not be thinking. That's really paralyzing. The other end of that spectrum, which is also not good, is not giving a rip about anything.
Yes.
I use the word rip for other words. And just not caring about anything. And that's
Like on a 0 day.
yeah, right, exactly. It's kind of like today. And thank you for bringing
Yeah.
us back. So that's not good either.
No.
But somewhere in the middle, because we want to live a moderate life, is that you have concern for others, but you're also not going to worry about what other people think
Yeah. Or let that control.
or
you.
let that control you. So somewhere in the middle is about where you want to be. And hardly ever in anything is the extreme on any point of view ever the healthy or the right one on anything.
Yeah.
It's always kind of like, what's the balance? And I'll tell you, people want to live in the black and white. But the healthiest living is always in the gray area. It's always in the middle.
Yeah.
And we have to remind ourselves, like, being an extremist in anything actually is not good for yourself or those around you.
Right.
Yep. So let's go back to this child of love thing. At one point in Matthew chapter 18, let's listen to this. At that time, the disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" Okay, it takes a lot of guts to go to Jesus and say, "Hey, Jesus, who's the best?
Who's the best?
Who's the best?"
Yes.
And Jesus took his two thumbs and said, "I am." No, I'm kidding. He didn't say that. But to be able to like have the kind of thing to say, "Jesus, we just want you to point out, in the room, like who's the greatest," right? Like, because that's what they're angling for, is
Right. They want to know. They want they want Jesus to point to them.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I honestly, with all of my faults, I don't even think I'd have the guts to ask a question like that to Jesus.
I mean, especially maybe it's we've heard these stories. We've learned from hopefully some of their mistakes, right? But you
Not
just
to do
know
that.
if you ask that question, Jesus is not going to look at you and say, "You know what? You're the one who's better than everybody."
Yeah,
that's not Jesus' style.
Right?
Like-
that's not how it's going to unfold, right? So, anyways, that's just commentary on that. But this is what Jesus said. He said he called a little child and had him stand among them, and he said, "I tell you the truth, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever humbles himself like this child," and clearly, so just let's follow the line of thinking here. Jesus uses the word "whoever humbles himself like this child." The question was not posed in humility,
I mean, that makes it very clear. It was not
right?
posed in
Like, you in the back who just Thaddeus, you asked that question. You got to become more humble like a kid, right?
Yeah.
And humble himself like a child is the greatest in the kingdom of God. And believe it or not, that's one of the things. If you get our weekly newsletter on Friday, I actually talk a little bit about humility in my blog post. I got that done yesterday. And so to explore humility is a good thing, especially during the Lenten season, to do a little introspection. But I'm telling you, this is about to be a child of God, this child of love is all about connecting to him and less about patting yourself on the back, right? That's why we're real people here and we point out our mistakes, right? We just go right to it. 0 days without an incident here in the
Yes.
studio. So look forward to turning that to 1 on Thursday,
at that.
So yeah, we've got to build somewhere, right? But yeah, to be a child of God is to have a faith, a trust like a little one. And you and I both know that a child who is in a healthy and happy environment, not struggling, not abused, not, but just in a good environment. When you tell a child an environment like that something, they take it as the gospel truth. They believe you.
Yeah.
If you are worthy of trust and you are a safe, available adult, and you tell a child something, they'll believe you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's what Jesus is getting at, is this understanding that a faith where you just tell a child anything and what the gospel, I mean, as silly as it is, and when I was growing up, I mean, as a child of the 70s, a little kid in the 70s, guess what? Guess what I believe? I believed in the tooth fairy because my folks said, put your tooth under a pillow and money will appear.
And it does.
And it does. And so guess what? I trusted and believed my parents, and I believed there was a tooth fairy for many years.
It's hard to argue. You get results.
Yeah,
that way.
when money shows up. Now,
Yes.
back then, life was a little bit different. It was a quarter. That was as good as it got. There was no folding green from the tooth fairy. I mean, prices may have gone up for teeth since then, but we were in the quarter world back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, of course, when I don't know, what were you?
Well, for me,
Yeah, where it
it was always change growing
yeah,
up.
okay, so
Yes,
good.
some form of change.
Yeah.
Yes.
They have the tooth fairy in Mississippi. Okay, quarters. Okay,
Yeah.
good. So we're kind of all on the same page there.
Yeah.
And then of course later on you pick it apart and you go, that is the most preposterous thing ever on the planet, is that there is someone who comes into your house undetected, and wants your dead teeth for money. Like there's a whole bunch of trouble there when you think about the pathology of what the tooth fairy is after.
Yeah.
Like, what are they doing with those teeth, and why do they want them? I mean, like, all of that. It's horrifying when you grow up and you start to think about it, right?
Oh my gosh. So Isaac came home from school. I mean, he's lost many of his teeth now, so he's kind of in a dry spell
Okay.
for losing teeth right
We're
now.
getting close to those adult teeth.
But
Yeah.
but he was losing teeth for a while, and he was talking about it with kids in his class. And he came home and said to mom he had the most hilarious story for her. He said that he could barely keep his laughter in.
Okay.
He was just chuckling over what this other kid had told him. This other
Yeah.
kid had said that actually, instead of the tooth fairy, your mom just takes the teeth, leaves you money, and then throws your teeth in the trash.
Can you believe such
And
such
he
wives'
thought
tale?
that was hilarious.
There is no way that it would work like that.
So you talk about kids. who
Yeah,
are just-
trusting.
yeah.
And I think that's what Jesus is getting at is you tell a child something and they look up to you, they just hold on to it as gospel truth.
Yeah.
Do not let them watch this broadcast. I know you
They-
get home at the end of the day and you say, kids, we're going to sit down and watch
watch.
the broadcast
Yeah.
together. So do not let them watch this broadcast.
Yeah, it was me. I disconnected Facebook that week.
Yeah,
so
that's
that I
right.
would have
So they
enough,
wouldn't have it
downtime.
on. That's
Yeah.
right. And we're holding all of you like, don't bring this up in front of the kids this weekend, right? So, but it's true. But I want to move over to 1 John, not the Gospel of John, but 1 John. And we're in chapter 5, and this is something we've never shared with you. But John is talking about the proof of being a child of God, which means you're a child of love.
1 John 5, verse 1. Everyone who believes that Jesus is the Christ has become a child of God. And everyone who loves the Father loves his children too.
So I love that. He just keeps it simple. He's like, look, if you believe in Jesus, well, then you're a child of God. And like he just keeps it super simple. And he's like, and by the way, if you're a child of God, that not only do you love your parent, the Heavenly Father, but you also love the other siblings in the family, right? The other children too. Like you can't tell me you love being a child of God, but you're fighting with your siblings in Christ. Like he's like, it's all or nothing. It's like you believe in Jesus, you're a child of God, but then you better get along with your other siblings too. And I think that is good because we mentioned last week, there are people who like to stir the pot.
It's not hard to find those
Yeah,
people.
don't be like that. I think that's the simplest thing to say. Just don't be like that. Try to get along with your brothers and sisters in Christ. And I think that is the way to go. And sometimes you just got to like let things go or walk away from some of that junk when it's out there versus kind of engaging and escalating stuff. Right? It's sometimes it's just not worth it. And other times, if it's something really egregious, of course you say, well, got to hold the line. But most stuff is pretty small. You just don't let people stir the pot.
Right.
And I think
it.
that's important.
That's it.
And even now we go back not from 1 John, but actually into the Gospel of John. And there is commentary in the first chapter of John. And that's really, there's a couple of things that happen in John chapter 1. One is this cosmic idea of creation with Christ as the Word, the logic, the wisdom of God being instrumental in creation. I mean, that's kind of part of it. Matthew and Luke have a birth story. Jesus is born. John's like, I got you all beat. We're going to talk about the eternal nature of Christ, who is there at creation. And then it folds into a little bit of John the Baptist pointing towards the light of the world, Christ. And then there's a little bit of commentary, and this was what I wanted to read to you. He said, Jesus came to that which was his own, and what does it mean by that? Jesus came to Israel, because, God's chosen people, so Jesus came to his own people, the chosen people, Israel, but his own did not receive him. And we see that in the sense that many in the leadership rejected Jesus, Pharisees, chief priests, Sadducees, so on and so forth. He said, yet to all who did receive receive him. To those who believed in Jesus' name, he gave the right to become the children of God. And then he explains this, and this is what I found fascinating. He's like, if you're a child of God, you were not children born of natural descent, meaning you're not blood relations with Jesus. That's what natural descent, like, oh, I'm, my dad is this and my grandfather is this, and my natural descent and who I'm connected to. He's like, it's not about your bloodline. He said, nor is it of a human decision, like, a husband and wife saying, oh, let's have kids, or another couple saying, let's adopt, like planning to have children.
Right.
He said, or even a husband's will. Remember, it was a patriarchal system. He said, it's not even about passion. He said, but in some ways, he's pointing to the fact that this is even more important because you are born of God, of that divine love that has claimed you, laid a hold of you, and you are his forever, no matter what happens. And we get to celebrate that again this weekend at 9:30 because we have 2 baptisms.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
That's always exciting to see on the calendar.
Yeah. So when we see those little ones receiving that promise and that claim, something they have no power over, something that they may or may not register in their memory banks, but like God's like, I'm good and I love all the children. He's like, I'm going to lay a claim on them. So we get to celebrate that this weekend. So we're glad that you joined us. Don't forget, tomorrow at noon, we have Lenten services.
Our Lenten worship service.
So we'd love for you to join us either online or in person, whatever you can do, at noon in the chapel, and we'll gather together for worship, and then we'll see you again on Thursday, where we will have a big one there to start
right.
One Day Without Incident. Anyways, we love you. God bless you. Take care. And Philip, will you play us out?